In this video, we'll be thinking about ways to support children's social and emotional development and ways to intervene when children are displaying challenging behaviors. We'll talk about ways to support positive behaviors and ways to intervene collaboratively with challenging behaviors. We'll also think about ways to talk to families about the difficult topic of challenging behaviors being displayed in their children. As we think about promoting children's social and emotional development, we'll be thinking about their emotional expression, their adaptability, their self-regulation, and sense of self. With emotional expression, our goal is to support children to express emotions clearly, but in culturally appropriate ways. We've all seen a site similar to the picture in this slide. This is actually my daughter from when she was probably about 3. We were traveling to the Children's Museum in Cincinnati. She was frustrated about going in. Something hadn't gone her way, and so she was expressing her emotions that she was displeased with what we were about to do. It is important as we think about emotional expression that we remember that emotions are neither positive or negative. We can't control our emotions. You can't control how you feel about anything. What we can control is how we express our emotions. But we should never think about an emotion, even if a child is feeling negative about something. That emotion is not negative. It just is. It just is what it is. But we can help children control their expressions of emotions, even though they can't control their emotions any more than we can. So children's emotions should be expressed and they should be heard. We should hear children's emotions. It was important that we knew that Maisie was not happy about the way that we were going about the activity for the afternoon. What is important, though, is that we teach children to begin to express emotions in appropriate ways, in culturally appropriate ways. So some ways that we can support emotional expression in culturally appropriate ways is that we calmly and kindly reflect what the child is feeling, or what we think that the child is feeling. Here are some starters to those sentences. I know you're angry because we're about to do this. We also want to think about not only reflecting emotions when they are disruptive to our routines, but also making sure that we're reflecting children's positive emotions. You should be proud. Last week you did it this way. Today you did this. You should be so proud of yourself. We're giving labels to those emotions. So similar to what we talked about with communication development, we want to be giving words not only to what children see, but also to what they feel. I see why you're so excited. I can see that you are so excited to see this happen today, and give children language for that. We also want to calmly and kindly explain other people's feelings. We want to explain our own feelings when we're feeling frustrated. When you scream, it makes me mad. I feel like I want to help you when you're not screaming. We can use dolls and pictures to act out these scenarios and give language. Sometimes it's nice to be giving language to these emotions when we're not in the heat of feeling strong emotions, so that children then have language to use when they are feeling highly emotional. When we're feeling highly emotional, it can be hard to learn new language for the emotions. We need to, because it's hard to access anything other than the emotion. And so we can use dolls, pictures, social stories to give language to those emotions earlier. Adaptability is a developmental skill that's important for young children to begin to have. We see this when children do accept new tasks. They move from task to task easily. Novel ways of doing things, novel items, new people, and they accept these and go with the flow. They accept change. This is a good quality to have and can be difficult for some children to develop. Our goal is to support an openness and curiosity for the novel and flexibility with change. Oftentimes when we think about emotion, or when the general public thinks about emotions and emotional adaptability and expression of emotions and so forth, it's often thought of as a static trait in children, but it is important to remember that we can change and promote the development of these traits in children, including adaptability. So some of the ways that we can promote adaptability in young children is to first let them know what to expect. And we can think of the many cues that we give to help children know that they're about to expect, or they should be expecting, a change is about to happen. We do this through our words. We're about to do this. We might count down. I do this often even in workshops with adults. You can give adults something to think about, and they're talking, and it can be hard to get the entire group back to focus. And so we can use a countdown. We're about to come back together. 10, 9, 8, and so forth. We can use chimes, a nice soft chime in an early childhood classroom, or subtle lighting changes, either a dimming of a light. Sometimes there's a flicker of a light, but if we can use sort of subtle, calming cues to signal that a change is about to happen, that lets children know what they can expect. We can also talk about the upcoming events. When we do this, when we go on our walk today, we're going to make a list of all of the things we hear. We're going to go on a listening walk. And when we get to our classroom, we are going to talk about all of the things that we heard on our listening walk. We can also help children adjust to change or something novel by combining the new experience with something familiar that the child likes. So this is why often a familiar stuffed animal or a blanket or something that the child likes that's an object can be helpful to transition between settings or people. Using photographs and picture communication schedules can be particularly helpful for children who are having a difficult time understanding the verbal language. It can also be helpful to accompany verbal language when children aren't having difficulty with language. But these ways of combining something familiar with something new can help children adapt easier. Limited choice making is an intervention strategy that we use to support positive behaviors of all kinds. And with limited choice making, we know that choice is a powerful motivator in people, and it's no different for young children, that choices are powerful motivators. And so when we give children choice, even if it's a limited choice, I have a friend who jokes, we don't give them a choice between the peas and the potato chips, it's between the peas and the carrots. And we can think of limited choice making in that way. So we give children limited choices so that there are choices to motivate the child and to engage the child, but within the parameters of the available choices. We can also use a strategy to help children become adaptable to change, or not being able to select the option that they want. And this flip it strategy can be helpful in promoting adaptability. So let's watch the video and see a teacher using a strategy called flip it to help a child adapt to the classroom routine and expectations.
Hello, and welcome to a short introduction to Flip It, 4 supportive steps to help young children identify their feelings, learn healthy self-control, and reduce challenging behaviors. These steps include exploring feelings with children so we can all better understand what is motivating the challenging behavior or what's underneath it. And then after feelings, setting limits so that children know that even though they are allowed to have these feelings, that we expect them to be safe and kind.
And it's hard to wait. It is hard to wait. I know it doesn't seem like a long time, but look at my watch. Look at my watch. It has been a long time. It doesn't seem like a long time because you were enjoying it. I know. You do. But you had your turn, and at our school we have to take turns.
Once children understand their feelings and the limits around them, they need help thinking through a solution. Inquiries are open-ended questions to help a child begin to problem solve. If a child is struggling coming up with a solution, we can offer prompts. These are supportive hints, cues, and suggestions.
I would like to work with you today. Would you like to work with me? Can I put you, do you want to see me put your name on the list for this afternoon? Let's see, what can we work on together till it's your turn again? Okay. Would you like to read a story? Would you like to draw a picture on, put your work away? I know what we could do. Do you want to go over our airplane like we did yesterday? I know what we could do. Do you want to go over our airplane like we did yesterday? Do you want to go draw our airplane and we can cut it out and glue it and make it fly? Would you like to do that? Okay. Look up here. Let's take a deep breath.
For more information, check out moreflipit.org.
Next, we'll think about children's self-regulation skills. Our self-regulation is like our body's thermostat that coordinates all of our physical and our emotional systems as we respond to stimuli in our environments. As we think about young children's self-regulation, it can be helpful to think about your own. So as you think about your own regulation, how your body responds and how your emotions respond to things in the environment, what are the sounds, sights, or smells that really get to you and challenge your own regulation? Some years ago, I started thinking about my own self-regulation and the types of things that helped me feel calm or the types of things that gave me stress. And I recognized that after about 8 o'clock in the evening, I like for the lights to be dimmer. I found that it brings me a bit of stress to have the lights very bright as I'm trying to transition to a quieter place and trying to transition to some downtime. So take a minute, pause the video, and think about the sounds, the sights, or smells that challenge your own self-regulation. Next, let's think about what makes you feel calm, what makes you feel safe. What is your happy place? Where do you feel the most comfortable and calm in the whole world? And I know where that place is for me. It's in our family room, in my spot on the couch, and I'm happiest when my family is around me, and it's late in the afternoon or early evening in that space where I feel the most calm and comfortable. There's a blanket that I really like to have there. It's nice when the fire is going. So take a minute, pause the video, and write down what makes you feel calm and comfortable. What's your happy place? So as we think about supporting young children's self-regulation, our goal is to support the child to move between emotional and physical states in a smooth and balanced manner that's consistent with bodily needs and environmental demands. So we want children to move from being very excited back to a calm place in the classroom, or between activities that are excitable back to ones that are calm in a smooth and coordinated way. We want children to move between states of asleep and awake. When we think about infants, a self-regulation goal is to help infants move from states of asleep to awake in a calm and smooth manner. As we think about ways to support regulation, what kinds of strategies we need to use, Mr. Rogers really had this right a long time ago. And Mr. Rogers has this wonderful song that he sang about what do you do when you feel angry. And so I'd like to play this video for you to think about how we support children's self-regulation, and Mr. Rogers and his demeanor and the way that he interacted with young children is really the right way to go when we think about supporting emotional expression, adaptability, and self-regulation. So let's take a look at this video.
Are there things that make you angry? Do you have ways of showing you're angry? Ways that don't hurt you or anybody else? What do you do with the mad that you feel when you feel so mad you could bite? When the whole wide world seems oh so wrong and nothing you do seems very right? What do you do? Do you punch a bag? Do you pound some clay or some dough? Do you round up friends for a game of tag or see how fast you go? It's great to be able to stop when you've planned a thing that's wrong and be able to do something else instead and think, this song, I can stop when I want to, can stop when I wish, can stop, stop, stop anytime. And what a good feeling to feel like this and know that the feeling is really mine. Know that there's something deep inside that helps us become what we can. For a girl can be someday a woman, and a boy can be someday a man. And that's important.
If you aren't familiar with Mr. Rogers, or you haven't watched any of the episodes of his TV show, you might take some time to do that. The way that he interacted with children, respected children, is something we could all learn from and incorporate in our daily interactions with young children. To promote self-regulation, we do want to promote predictable routines throughout the day so that children learn what to expect and are prepared for the need to regulate between states, between routines. We can use photographs and picture schedules like we mentioned before. Using a favorite object, again, helps with self-regulation as well as adaptability. We want to calmly and kindly acknowledge emotions. We use words like, it's okay to be angry. We show we're angry in ways that don't hurt people. And that song expressed that view quite well. We can identify environmental features that help the child moderate emotions. We can think about favorite places in the room, a quiet activity, certain objects that children can lean on in order to moderate their emotions and to moderate how their body regulates in changing activities or changing states or coping. We can also model coping strategies ourselves. It's important that early childhood education and care professionals control our emotions, that we model self-regulations by doing this. Sometimes we can feel frustration, and it's important that we figure out ways to cope with stressful situations. One of the strategies we can use is providing breaks for one another. One of the strategies that we can use is to provide breaks for one another. Sometimes there are exceedingly challenging behaviors in the classroom that can test our own ability to control our emotions and to self-regulate. And so occasionally we might need to give one another short breaks to be able to regulate well. We always want to end any negative interaction that we're having with a child on a positive note. We want to show children we love them, we care about them, even when we're having to intervene and support regulation and adaptability and appropriate emotion use. We can give children hints and cues to let them know how to respond appropriately. We might rub a child's back gently to cue calmness. We might lean in and use a quiet voice to make a suggestion on how to interact. We can cue the entire group to put their hands in their pocket or other suggestion to help prevent any inappropriate behavior or inappropriate response, because anytime we can prevent, that's better than having to intervene. We do want to remember the positive and always acknowledge that. It can be a bit of a default to always intervene when there is a negative, when there is a challenging behavior or an inappropriate expression of emotion. We want to, on the flip side, be sure that we're always praising appropriate expression of emotions, positive emotions, and emotions that feel negative to children. As they express those appropriately, we want to acknowledge children's development in this area and how expressing even what feels like a negative emotion to the child is expressed in an appropriate way. So as you're spending time in spaces with young children right now, can you think about ways that you might change the space? Are there any enhancements that you might provide to create an element of calm in that setting? Take a minute to pause the video and think about what are some modifications to the space that you might make in order to bring an element of calm or enhance the already existing element of calm. Finally, we want to be working diligently to improve children's sense of self in the early childhood environment. We want children to desire to accomplish things independently, to be persistent toward their goals and feel good about who they are and what they do. There are ways that we can promote this. We can compliment children's achievements, we can compliment their efforts, we can do this directly, but we can also compliment children by talking about the child to compliment them to other adults, others nearby, so that, but where children can hear and receive these compliments. In order to promote children's perseverance, their desire to persevere toward a goal, we provide a slight challenge. We can think about this as the child's zone of proximal development. Provide a slight challenge and encourage and reinforce persistence. For children who are struggling in this area, who give up easily when it becomes too hard, when the task is too hard, we can think about this zone of proximal development as sort of stair steps. And for children who are really struggling, we have to break up the steps into smaller pieces to make the challenge even closer to their current skills, and be able to really reinforce the persistence and the accomplishments. Another simple way to increase children's sense of self is to greet every child by name each morning immediately with warmth and a hug or a handshake and a smile to send the message that I know you and I am glad you are here today. We want to post children's work around the room. This should be our decor. We should show off children's work and show off all that they've done so that they can see their self reflected in the work around the room. Next, and it seems as though, unfortunately, as children get older, this point is sometimes lost. We should always treat all children with respect and caring as human beings. They learn how to feel about themselves from others. We don't always need to have a hierarchy in place to say, I am in charge and you are not in charge. But this hierarchy, particularly in primary, seems to become more and more evident and sends a message to children that they're not as important as the person in charge. Their choices, their preferences, their emotions are not as important as the teacher or the person in charge. So we send this message, a different message, by attending to children as we would any other adult with whom we're in conversation. We give eye contact to them, a knowing nod, calmly, patiently waiting for them to finish their thoughts, not thinking about what we'll say next, but genuinely interested in what the child has to say. Our facial expressions should convey interest and attention to what the child has to say. One of the most important things we can do for children of all ages, beginning with infancy, is to respond immediately. We respond immediately to children's communicative attempts with us. This teaches the child that their needs are understood and that initiating interaction leads to a response from others. This is one of the most important interventions that we can teach families, that we can teach early education and care providers, that immediate contingent responsivity is essential to children's growth and development. It promotes not only their emotional well-being, but also their cognitive well-being. Next, we want to follow the child's lead, not always directing every activity, directing every response opportunity, but to follow the child's lead, allow the child to make some choices about their interests, about their preferences. We can create a topic for interaction. Sometimes the child creates the topic for interaction. And we can imitate, comment, model, and include whatever developmentally appropriate strategies for engaging with that child are appropriate for the child's age and developmental level. In our next video, we'll take elements of what we've learned about supporting emotional and social development and think about ways to design intervention to respond to challenging behaviors.